Hey there, I'm Dave, the Notion coach, and this is a short video. I posted a screenshot of this part of my workspace, and it's using databases from my template called Manifest OS. And questions were, how exactly do we get this type of view or dashboard where we've got our daily planner card with today's date and a list of actions for the day automatically updating daily. So what I wanted to do in this video is kind of build this from scratch, take a look at what databases we would need to set something like this up if you're not using the Manifest template or if you're just practicing or building this from scratch. So that's what we're going to do in this video. First thing I want to point out is if we go to the home page, this encompasses all of the key high-level databases in the workspace. So as you can see, it covers everything from a daily planner, different timelines. We can see here more specifically goals, objectives, projects, actions. Actions is specifically one of the key databases we're going to need for this today dashboard. Life areas, exercise, some of the personal stuff, and knowledge. This is primarily for tracking things like books I'm reading, links from the internet, tagging as a way to organize different pieces of content, and so on. So the two key databases that we're going to need are actions. So if we go into actions, this is just kind of a grouped view of active projects as an example. But if we open one of these just to get a sense of what are some properties that would be helpful for our actions or tasks database, and we can see here some of the common ones like due date. I have time, like an estimate of time to complete the task, priority, low, medium, high, and then important and urgent. If you're familiar with the Eisenhower matrix, that's related to that. Tags, this is really just to be able to retrieve certain tasks that have information that I want to duplicate or reuse in the future. Status, this is one of Notion's newer updates. So if we go into here very briefly, I did a video on this, but essentially we could display this as the typical status properties like not started, up next, in progress, or you can see it as a checkbox. For some of us who prefer checkboxes, this gives you the best of both worlds where you don't have to have a status property and a checkbox property separate. You can just decide when and where to display which, and there's benefits to using either one. Other properties, if we kind of go down a little bit further, there's quite a few roll-ups about the parent project. So if we have tasks, I'd like to, as much as possible, organize them by projects and making sure that projects have specific start and end dates. There's also priorities for projects. So as I'm weekly planning, I can set one or two at most to be highest priority for that week. And this just gives you the option to see these within the action itself, but we can also choose to hide those in the action so that we don't kind of see those every time we open up a task. And then this is more for a visual cue. I also have templates set up for actions just to kind of break down the area that the action is a part of. So red is consulting, any personal tasks are this blue, communities yellow, and content creation is purple. So as I'm looking at the daily dashboard, I could get a quick sense of what the day is looking like and how it breaks down in terms of area. So, and these are essentially duplicating each other and then using the same icon in different colors. So that's just a quick overview of actions. The other key database that this today view really relies on is the daily planner. So if we go into the daily planner, this essentially just has a page for each day and is meant to be a space to track habits a little bit more dynamically than just the checkbox. So if we take a look at what are the properties that we're tracking for each day, we've got the kind of typical checkbox for things like journaling, meditating, reflecting, but also some more qualitative information like how I'm feeling that day. If I'm tracking exercise, this connects to another database that is only exercise entries, and then journal entries. So kind of taking the atomic journaling method of quick sentences and really just capturing any ideas or reflections throughout the day to make the journaling process a little bit less overwhelming. So don't need to have all of these necessarily. It could just be checkboxes that you're tracking, but if you would like to track habits and account for more information than just a yes or no, relating a database might make sense to do that and to get more information from that process. So now that we went through those two key databases, we want to create a new dashboard, and we're going to do this from scratch. So if you notice, if we hover over this menu, this is actually a synced block, which means that if I go into my planner, this is all of these key pages are using the same menu, so that as I update the menu or decide, I might not need to link to resources at this very top level, we can delete it, and then it'll automatically update across all of these primary pages. So kind of a cool way to use a sync block so that you don't necessarily have to update the menu, across multiple pages. So what we're going to do is create a new page. So I'm going to go back into the home page, and we'll create a new page here, and we'll call this today. And I'm going to make this full width and make sure that shows up down here. So I've got that page set up. What I want to do before I forget is copy a link to this page, and I'm going to create a new addition to the menu, and we'll call this today, and then double clicking and then selecting link, I can paste the link to that page so that now this lives in my header menu. So now that we've got the page set up, let's go back into the example to get a sense of what we're trying to build. So if you notice here, we have a toggle, and we've got 4 key toggles, but the only one that we're going to focus on is the day view. But we've got weeks, which has its own database, and day. So within day, we have a view of the daily planner, which is filtered to today, and we have the actions database, which is also filtered to today. So let's go into our new page, and actually I'm going to copy the menu and paste that into here, paste in sync. So I've got that set up, and we're going to create a toggle, say toggle 3, so it's a little bit bigger. We'll call this today, and I'm going to expand this. Now, this is a question that's come up also quite a bit, how to create multiple columns within, say, a toggle or a call out. This is something that a few other people have pointed out, but a little bit of a workaround, not necessarily intuitive, but let's take a look at how to do that. So I'm going to first create a page in here, and we're going to go back, and I'm going to start linking my databases, specifically the daily planner and the actions, and then format them visually. So first, I'm going to select /linked database, and we're going to connect actions. We can see here that it's defaulting to that first view, but what I want to do is we'll just use this as a starting point and then update it as we need to. So we've got this grouped by project, and now what I want to do is get that view where we're looking at a more minimal list, and we just want to see the action name and the due date. So next up, we're going to go to layout. I'm going to turn this into a list, and the grouping we're going to turn off. So instead of grouping by projects, we're just going to say none. And then from here, go back there. So from here, what I'm going to do next is filter. So you can see here that original database was filtered by project status was in progress. Let's take that off for now so that we don't have any filters and we're starting from scratch. We're going to add a filter, and we'll say the due date is today. The next thing we want to do is sort it. So we want to sort it by time. So let's go in here. We'll say due date is ascending. So we're going from earliest to latest. And we can turn off the status sort. So we're only really looking at the due date and using that to organize the the list. So we've got our tasks here and we've got the status. A couple of things that we want to do next. If we go into properties and then status, what I want to do is change this to a checkbox. So it's just a little bit more minimal and I can quickly scan what's done and complete. So now we've got that checkbox. Again, this is tied to your status, so you don't have to have multiple properties if you like checkboxes but also like to track tasks more specifically. And the one other property that we want to add here is the due date. So I'm going to go back into properties and go to turn on due date, and we see that that shows up here, including times. And then we want to rearrange this so that it's a little bit cleaner. So now we've got our due date and the checkbox. So that's one half of our today dashboard, and again, it's filtered to today. So every time we open this at the start of the day, it's automatically filtered to what's most important or relevant for today. This also kind of requires us to plan out the following week with a bit more detail. And that's part of the weekly planning process, which might just do a video on that as well. But that just allows us to kind of plan ahead and try to block out time for specific actions. So we've got that set up, and the next thing we're going to do is set up the daily planner view. So again, we're going to type / linked database, linked view of database, and we're going to select daily planner. And from here, again, I want to first filter by, let's get rid of these other filters. And the only one that I want to apply is the due date, or I'm sorry, the date is today. Just make sure that's going. So that's connected. If you remember, we've got that gallery view here instead of the table view, just so that we could just see the day of the week and then any habits for quick glance. If I know I haven't meditated today, it's a reminder to do that before the day's over. So if we go into the menu of the database and then go to layout, we're going to change this to gallery. And if you notice, the default for gallery is showing the page contents. So if you've got notes in a page, they'll likely show up, but we want to instead show the page cover, which gives us that image. The next thing is we can only see the date, but we want to add a few more properties to see at a quick glance. So if we go into properties, we can see here the only thing that's visible is the name, but let's go in and add journal, meditate, and reflect. And these are, you're able to select these, check them directly from here without necessarily going into the page. Another question I had related to the daily planner is how we get this cover image automatically. So if we go into, this is a little bit a work in progress, I'm going to just kind of delete this database view for now. And what we've got set up is a template for each day of the week. So each of these, if I go into Thursday, again, this is a little bit outdated, but we could set up a cover image using a tool like Canva or Figma and not have to do that manually every day or every week. So that gives us an opportunity to do that to set up our daily planner. So let's go out of there. So we've got that daily planner view. Again, if you wanted to add additional information, for example, if we wanted to add any logging of feelings, or if we're reading, I don't think I logged any reading today, but that would show up here as well. Okay, so we got this inside of a toggle, but we want to set up columns. This requires a little bit of a workaround, which we're going to do now. So the first thing we want to do is I'm going to drag both of these databases into this page, like so, and then open this up. You can see we still have them aligned vertically, but I want to make a few spaces to create two columns. So I've got these two empty columns here, and the next thing I want to do is move this daily planner view up to the left and the actions view up to the right. So we've got these two columns. We can slide this over here, but we'll probably want to do that in the parent page. So there's one more step to this. If we go back to the today dashboard, in here we want to change this from a page to basic text. So now we can still have those columns. If we like to set up multiple columns inside of a callout block or inside of a toggle, this allows you to do that, even though it's not necessarily doable from the main menu. The next thing is we're just gonna kind of move this to format it so that we've got more space for the actions list. And that's about it. That's the today dashboard. So if you're logging notes or journal entries in your daily planner, we would pop this open, jot those down, and save those to your journal or straight to the planner. And the action space just as a space for seeing what's on deck for the rest of the day and just working your way through each of these tasks. This also ties into time blocking as a way to visualize what you have on deck and being able to rearrange and foresee how long it's going to be needed for a particular task. And if we want to clean this up one level further, we could just go ahead and hide the database names. So that now we have just our daily planner and actions. So hope that's helpful. Let me know what you think, or if you've got any other databases or information that you tend to track daily, and it could be something that we explore in future videos. But otherwise, see you in the next one. If you find that helpful, or if you want to stay up to date with future videos from myself, then go ahead and subscribe, and otherwise see you in the next video.